Gentlemen, the living Sahaji master, Sri Michael Owen.
Yeah, CLG means swimming on cosmic seas. I look at that as an imagery. When I first learned how to swim, my father just threw me in the water and walked away. He figured I'd learn how to swim somehow. And I kind of feel that my father about did the same thing. He just said, create. And I felt like the same time I was thrown in that water and I had to learn how to swim, just as that occurred. I'll tell you what, I want to have you do that announcement next time around next year.
Thank you.
Now, I could go with good evening, family and friends, but I'm going to do that anyway. Good evening, family and friends. We are again gathered for communion, fellowship, and the heartfelt exchange of love for one another. The theme of the humble heart sets a loving pace for the next coming year for this world. I'd like to initiate this gathering and commemorate it with a prayer that I wrote especially for each of you. Sometimes I get kind of choked up because when I think of each of you, all old friends too, I get all choked up. And this is called the Prayer for the Humble Heart. Father, lead me to the stillness within my soul, and show me the deep well of humility within my heart. Let me see your face reflected in the waters instead of my own. When I speak, let it be your humble words that come out of my mouth. When others speak, let me hear with your ears and understand with your grace. Father, lead me to the sea of peace when life provokes my ego and vanity. Deliver me on humble ways to your merciful and loving heart. Father, show me the beauty of true humility. Give me the teachings of thy humble heart. Let kindness be my guide, and patience be my truth. Let the light of your humility shine through me in all my ways and in all my days. I would like to take each of you for a ride. See what you started. I would have said a gentle contemplation. But this is, I call, the reflection of the humble heart. And the hue is on. We will do one hue. And we're just going to put to rest our body. See your eyes, body, and mind, and begin to take in slow, deep breaths. So with that in mind, you can keep your eyes open, eyes closed. And let us do one hue. And I would like to take you into the vibration universally of the open heart. See your eyes, body, and mind coming to a peace. Take in some slow and deep breaths. And you will begin to feel a resonance with peace. Now imagine in your third eye a wishing well in the middle of a beautiful garden setting. We're stepping to the side of the well as a group, and we're looking into its depths. See the floating image of a golden heart deep in the waters of the well. It shines with purity in colors of gold, lavender, and blue. Say to the image of the heart and to yourself silently, I wish for the humble heart consciousness to reflect within me and throughout my day. Father, make it so. You will see this beautiful heart floating on the waters of this well, and you're gazing upon it, enjoying its beauty. Let it resonate as a part of you. And through your day, allow the image to be placed upon your heart. And as you go about your day, giving salutations to others, see this heart emanating through you. Blessed be. We have witnessed in the last decade the empowerment of women in the White House. We have given testimony to an ever-changing world and changing concepts and opinion. The New World Order is attempting to turn our educational system into a corporate structure. And in their attempt, they are trying to dismantle the teacher unions that have made America's education so great. I can remember many of the teachers that were part of the union. I can still remember the look of Mrs. Finn Dyson, who always wanted to take a little ruler and smack me on the head when I wasn't listening, but I knew that she meant so much for me to be successful. But these teachers were all a part of a unity, all a part of a union that helped the educational system and to reinforce democratic principles. The New World Order is trying to place a bridle around our free will and democratic principles. And in the midst of continuous controversy, trials and tribulations, nothing is more important and more powerful than the humble heart and the love that flows from its center. Nothing is more cheering than this love coming from God. We stand vigilantly quiet with the humble heart, knowing that the new scheme of change will not, I repeat, will not change God's best laid plans. Genetic changes in humanity are forthcoming with the consumption of genetically modified foods and artificial supplements. There will be a quiet before the storm of humanity's metamorphosis. There will be a disarming veil of peace before the tide of planetary karma fully shifts into activity. The economic expansion of China and Japan will be stifled and challenged by ecological disasters and abnormalities. the Muslim world will become a majority political force in Europe. And there will be a spiritual marriage between Christianity and the Muslim world, because the children of Europe will be marrying the children of Islam. Things will change. The seething exploitation of Western colonialism will be at the doorstep of Windsor Castle. And the world banking system will have to change their plans for world domination, because right now, as we're looking at some of the economic dispositions of some of the countries that are going bankrupt, these banking concerns are buying up the vast resources that these countries have at their weakest moment. And in the midst of overwhelming odds, I say to you, each of you, the humble heart will always prevail. Your humble heart is like the iPhone to the inner and outer master, and the many teachers who have been with you throughout your multitude of life experiences. The humble heart, it opens doors when doors are closed. And they're often shut tightly due to the fear of the unknown. But this humble heart is the crowning jewel of peace and harmony, and allows greater wisdom to be practiced in our everyday life. It allows us to forgive for forgiveness' sake. It shows our spiritual mission in life, and it lays the seed for a happier, joyful life. The female master, Limlet, has urged women of all walks of life to use the heart to contact their true self. She wanted others to be attuned to the messages of the day and work in concert with what serves the interests of all concerned. She wants us to speak in positive terms, as if all our hopes, our dreams, have already manifested. To stay in the humble heart, simply say, I'm an open and clear channel for God's love. I give and receive only that love. Allow yourself to be a mirror of God's love. The humble heart is magnetic, attracting more love to you and more loving people. Give appreciation to the little things you've been given. Give thanks to those who love you. Blessings often come from unexpected places, and we often overlook others watching our random acts of kindness, our subtle, graceful gestures of love. The humble heart, it requires our commitment, our service to life. Many souls in this technological age see it as confinement. They do not see commitment as the key to freedom of soul. The wanings of their fears give weight to countless repetitive cycles of unrunning karma. The light of the humble heart gives credence to right actions and proper productive use, free will, and it can change the world. It changes others. It inspires others to do great things within themselves. The female master, Prisca, in the book Guardians of the Gates of Heaven, had a beautiful, humble heart. She never expected that women of that day would be the ones who would hold the foundation of Christianity and its growth in Rome. It was a bold undertaking for Prisca to claim the humble heart. Her station in life afforded her greater opportunity, but she still had to witness the subjugation of women, the slavery, the hard times, the inexcusable social mores of the Roman army and the aristocratic men. The humble heart gave her courage. She saw her best friend consumed by lions in the arena. Roman society made its citizens obey the feast days of the Olympian gods. To refuse meant death in accordance to Roman law. It's custom. She, like Master Limlet, wanted women to pursue their goals and dreams and felt the humble heart their ultimate protection. She wants women of this day to understand the freedoms available, and it gives opportunity for them to overturn and change the hormonal balance of this planet. Spirit has given us more gifts to our table of consumption than the past. Take your humble heart and recognize the latitude of social mobility you've been given, and it is here, out there, and in the now. Deprivation is a poverty of the mind. All prosperity in its truest form comes from the heart. The humble heart swings the sword of righteousness. It heals the wounds of our own transgression. It split the Red Sea and gave Moses freedom for his culture beyond the River Jordan. It is consuming, purifying, and purges the stones that can often reside in our heart. Sri Yugeshwar had the humble heart and laid forth the foundation of the United Nations. In my mind's eye, I can still see the work of Florence Nightingale, who had the heart, gave comfort to the wounded, the sick, and souls waiting to meet their Maker. The humble heart is what Master Vastrayas called having the heart of a warrior, expressing strength, perseverance, determination, vision, knowledge, careful discrimination, tolerance, and many other invaluable virtues. Stay. I say stay in your daily devotionals. Survey what you say with the watchful eye of the shepherd who tends to his sheep. Let your voice be like the light from a harbor, bringing other ships to safety from turbulent waters. The humble heart gives sanctuary to those long-suffering, and it emanates the peace they need to alleviate their pain. When we speak of heart, we cannot discount, and I repeat, we cannot discount the beauty of serenity. It comes when we often are placed with the care of our elders, the care of our brothers and sisters. It's a true gift to return what we've been given as children. I can still see my own mother when a young man knocked on the door, my family, and he couldn't speak English, but he made a hand motion that he was hungry. It was Thanksgiving. My mother had tears coming down her eyes and said, "We must feed this young man." And she fed his plate. It looked like a mountain. That man ate every bit of those biscuits and everything she had on her plate. And she turned around and said, "He may not be your brother by name, but he's your brother anyway." It made a lasting impression, but it also resounds such truth to that what I'm telling you of this humble heart, because in many ways we have to think of others in different ways, ways that we never thought we could give. It's something spontaneous that's in the heart and in our humanity. Spirit wants us to understand the sanctity of the undertaking of being humanity's guardians. We become, as we are taking care of our parents, we become the parent as our parent becomes our children. It is a sacred exchange of love. We cannot reach the full cycle of life without having some experience in this arena of life. Every family faces this inescapable reality. Some female masters reached their mastership while they were nurturing their family. I learned much listening to the life stories of my elders, benefiting from their wisdom and what they have seen in life. Our reality is intertwined in the dreams of those who have lived before us. In many ways, life is but a dream, yet to be fulfilled. It's been asked of me countless times, how can I find this humble heart? How can I find this inner peace? How can I find the sanctity within myself? And so I respond to that question in saying, if you could open these 9 rules just to be there for a moment to see the gift that you've been given, you will be there. It's not the finalization. It's our reaching out to know that we can be better. And we can encourage other people to be better. And that encouragement will change our world to be better. And these 9 rules, if one could just touch one of them, it will change some area of the world, some place unseen. Number 1, see all without judgment. Be as the river that flows over the rocks of life, which attach grace until it reaches the sea of love and mercy. 2, do all for the sake of giving and nothing else. Serve with a full heart. 3, give more than what is asked for in all things, and life will return the gift tenfold. Speak no evil and do no harm. Number 4. 5, do all you've agreed to do. Keep your word. Fulfill your promises. Thy word is thy bond. But remember, you're not perfect. Number 6, do not trespass on others. Honor their right to privacy and self-worth. 7, be your own person. Live your own truth. Be a law unto yourself. Number 8, protect the weak. Feed the hungry. Honor the poor. And 9, love God as it loves you. Love others as you wish to be loved. God created us perfectly to be imperfect. I repeat, perfectly to be imperfect. The humble heart is the inner connection to God that is established through peace, faith, and surrender. We must train ourselves to find the peaceful pond within ourselves and go there, wait for God, with complete faith that God will appear. God comes from the dove of peace that descends upon our heart. When all is in quiet anticipation. God comes when the serene reigns supreme in the soul. The humble heart, it creates protection from negative forces, and it has been used in battle by wise warriors because nothing could touch the serenity of heart since it is established. That humble heart led George Washington to cross that river when desertion was highest during the Revolutionary War. And he was inspired to cross that river at that time. But it was his humble heart seeking the lead of God to forge a new nation and to move at a time that would be the worst time in history to move, but faith moved him on. It said it was possible. He saw the possibility of a better place, a better nation. And look at us all enjoying the sacrifice. It often reminds us who we are, where we're coming from, and that inexplicably bound to the one true God through the heart of God, which reaches the heart of soul. The heart is the cup that runneth over, the endless fruit of bliss, from where all blessings flow, from this place deep within the human consciousness. The voice of God speaks in the calm stillness and bestows upon soul the universal secrets of existence. Understanding begins to unfold like the thousand-petal lotus, reminding soul of its destiny and how to fulfill it. You teach your soul how to live in the lower worlds, yet not a part of it, but as one with all living things. You teach your soul how to love from the depths of serene bliss. Notice how the word bliss follows serenity. Bliss and serenity are one and the same. In the heart, bliss springs forth like an endless, joyous fountain. With the heart, you can find your inner peace, your balance, the use of sacred words of God throughout your day. Each of you have gone within when all appeared to be in chaos. And that humble heart took us through challenge unscathed. And the turmoil didn't touch you. All that will touch your heart is the peace and bliss of serenity, your faith in the power of God. Serenity can be found in a sacred place, much like we seek God in a church, a temple, or a monastery, in some special place in your home. A place where maybe your own mama used to take you and put you on her lap and talk the words of wisdom, and you could still feel the warmth. You could still smell her perfume. You could still feel her embrace. But it is that gentle heart that's kindling, reminding us how much we are to be indebted to those who brought the gifts of life to us. We want the soul to become the living expression of the love and power of God that descends upon this world. This is how God reaches humanity, through its peaceful warriors who know the power of serenity and wield it like the sword of righteousness. It cuts through the heart of darkness and allows more light to flood this world, thus illuminating the way for countless souls to return to the arms of God, to the arms of glory. There's much to say of what I sang about the humble heart. But for many of you, your humble heart had to do with your faith, had to do with your devotion to light and sound. had to do with the faith and devotion of what brought you here, your family, kind words from a child you don't know. And I say to you, in a dedication to each of you, this prayer song that I read has to do with the many acts of random kindness and compassion that you've had to do others. Faith and devotion. I am the steady lighthouse on the stormy seas. That's you. I am the undying candle on a windy night. I am the faraway star in a forgotten heaven that refuses to relinquish my solitary light. I am the kindness in the place of indifference. I am the other cheek when slapped in the face. I still believe in the goodness of humanity, no matter the war and strife they bring to this place. I am the long-suffering who does not become despondent. I am the lonely, the poor, who still hopes and who still shares. I am the priest of my own heart who preaches God's word to my own soul and to any other soul who simply cares. I am the lost seagull forever seeking the merciful waves of God's ocean. When I'm tired and wanting, I will fly on the winds of my endless faith in my endless devotion. The body of man is a microcosm, a reflection of this universe in which has its being. Everything in creation is a reflection of the one true God. The key to understanding what God is and how God manifests rests in the reflection of all it has created. Look at how this universe is structured and you will begin to understand what soul is and what God is. Soul in its truest state is aesthetic because it's free. You are free. The beauty and ecstasy of life and love is in our ability to be free, to rise above everything that is not God-like, to perceive the truth within every situation. It is why we are here, to see God in everything and in everyone. And it comes in such simplicity. Nature is the great emissary of God too. It is through all things natural that God speaks to the physical world. One can learn the secrets of God by listening to the streams, gently listening to the rivers, to the roar of the ocean as you're walking along the seashore, finding a sense of peace and oneness with yourself when you're seeing that beautiful sunset descending behind an ocean. And isn't it amazing that the people that used to watch that used to think that the world was flat? And it took the gentle heart of someone to say, how do we know that? And ventured forth to change human concept. If you bring a seashell to your ear, you could hear the whispers of the universe. One can feel God's love in the gentle rain and the pool of the surf. Animals and insects bring us closer to the earth, for they dwell only in love for this planet. Plants, trees, and flowers give us our roots and a sense of balance and connectedness to Mother Earth. This is how we lived our life here in communion with God's emissaries. The natural world that exists in this life gives us peace, a sense of oneness with life and living. If you choose to live with God's emissaries, the natural world will lead you where you are meant to go. One great spiritual master, his name was Lacey, often had to go into the forest to find peace, to understand the mastery of his own soul. And when Lacey went into contemplative activity in nature, often it meant he was there for days. He was given food and protection from the elements by deer, wolves, and small creatures. The deer would drop edible leaves and other plants in front of the cave he dwelled in. Squirrels and chipmunks would leave nuts and berries. When the weather became very cold to freezing, wolves would lay beside him and gave him their warmth. He would hibernate with bears. At times, baskets of fruit and bread would appear at the entrance of the cave that he was in. So strong was his faith in God, he never felt alone and always provided for. Many would call his experiences miraculous, but in actuality, it was the natural response of focused contemplative prayer and how it affects what materializes itself in our life. The humble heart is our key to entry into the spiritual temples. Many of you are using the book Spiritual Temples to talk with many of the masters. Some souls are walking into these spiritual temples in the same manner and form as if they were walking into a church. A soul must come from the deepest humility before one foot can step the first step of these spiritual temples. The spiritual seeker must be cleansed of all self-centered thought. Any tinge of the ego is flatly rejected, like a massive iron door slamming shut. Once the desired state of consciousness is achieved, there must also be a word spoken that is given to you. And one does not have to be conscious to it. One will often emanate when you're in contemplation. It unlocks the door to many of these temples. Many of these temples have their own unique vibration. Humility requires surrender and an endless practice. But this does not mean we give up our individualism. It just simply means that everybody truly in their hearts and hearts want to love. They seek love. And often I have said, in an example of love, how many people have you said, I love you, and they said, take that back? It doesn't happen. It may wake something in them that may stir something that you don't want to hear. But I've never heard take it back. There's something inattractable about humanity's need for love, and the humble heart shears through the challenges like a sword that reaches into the middle and center of other people's soul. I found myself greatly influenced by those who gave me questions. And one person said to me, why and how is the humble heart the key to our physical, mental, and spiritual survival? I think I've said it, but I'll reiterate it. It is only through the deepest humility that God will enter and speak through the heart of soul. It is only on bended knee that soul will hear no God and know God. For the righteous who hold their heads high and wait for God to descend upon them from the lofty heavens will wait in vain. Their raised hands and imploring justice will not be answered. It is the humble soul who expresses as much as he possibly can of his humble heart and bended knees who will be asked to sit at God's table. There is an exercise, and there were many more, and there are some things that I'm giving you to rather unpublished, because if anything, it's not that we lack the literature, but I often find myself reviewing something that I've written or reviewing something I said, and I say, did I say that? And I look about it and I said, yes, I did. We all must give credence to review. We all must pace ourselves as a group. We all must look at ourselves unattractively as family and old friends, because you are. I kept looking at all the exercises, and I said, what could I give beyond the exercise that I would be giving at the beginning? And a master stepped forward, and he said, sometimes a word, simply a word, can open a heart. I remembered one time I was in a hut of a very revered master. He often offered this butter tea. Man, I couldn't stand that tea. But I smiled and drank it. He knew I didn't like it. I just thought, what was the sense in him giving me something he knew I didn't like? And I realized that was just simply his sense of humor. And I always had a sense of asking, but nobody else would ask. And I said, oh, nobody's going to ask this one, so I'm going to just fire away. So I said, great master, why don't you talk about humility and show us a little bit? He said, if you keep going in the direction you're going, you'll pretty well find out your own in the next 5 minutes. I thought that was rather funny, but what he was saying is, it's a certain quietude that we must have. It's not with pride. It's knowing simply that it is a simple and easy process. And so I leave you with this tonight. I have to say, when I go back to my room and I keep writing, I remember all your loving faces. I remember all the friends, the people who inspire me, the people who I've seen talked and said, you know, gosh, that was a great talk. I said, one of our participants, I said, if you say that again before me, I'm going to have to get a fire extinguisher to put out the fire here, because it was so beautiful. I take each of you back with the quilt of when I'm writing. And this is simply a humble heart key. You're in the hue. But I ask you right now to say the word humility within yourself. See yourself saying that within your heart 5 times. Now I say to each of you, close your eyes. Look within your middle eye and ask yourself, what is the greatest act of humility you've ever experienced in your life? It doesn't matter if it's something you did. Greatness resides in everyone. It may be in the act of someone else you admire, another person. Think of a saint or master that you love and feel within your heart. Possibly an act of humility that they performed in their lifetime. And what you're doing on the inner is developing the humble heart. And it creates the right vibration to get you into closer alignment with the spiritual temples. It opens a doorway through which you can enter the sacred grounds. And I say to you, as you see and feel a light resonation coming from your heart, see yourself holding the hand of a master you revere, and inwardly say, lead me, and I will follow you in deepest humility. There is a peace that begins to resonate within you. Allow this energy to continue. It speaks its own language. It's its own song. It takes the normal and turns it into holy. Now I say to you to give a loving resonation to what you have placed upon your heart. We will do the hue 3 times. It may be necessary to close your eye.
On behalf of Sri Michael, I extend to you the blessings of the Sahaji. Thank you.